Very good afternoon to our audience and stakeholders from India, and good morning to our audience from Croatia. I'm Binil Matthew from the Startup India team, and I would like to welcome all of you to the India Croatia webinar. I would like to welcome our dignitary for today's webinar, His Excellency Mr. Rajkumar Srivastav, Ambassador of India to Croatia, who will be joining us shortly. India and Croatia share robust economic relations and have been strategic partners since Croatia's independence. This webinar is a step to strengthen these economic ties and allow startups from both countries to access the market in each other's and also learn from each other. We have multiple speakers from India and Croatia who will be sharing their experience and insights on the startup ecosystem in both countries. I would now like to invite Ms. Astra Grover, Assistant Vice President and Head of the Startup India team at Invest India, to speak about the Startup India initiative and share some best practices from the Indian startup ecosystem.
Thank you so much, Binil, for introducing us all. Your Excellency, Mr. Rajkumar Srivastav, and all the other panelists who have joined us today, a very warm welcome to all of you. To all the entrepreneurs out there, hello everyone. I'm Astha. I head the Startup India team at Invest India, which is the National Investment Promotion Agency of India. About the startup ecosystem in India, fortunately, I've been associated and been a founding member of the team since the Startup India Action Plan was announced by our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi back in 2016. When the startup initiative was started, the idea was to promote a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship in the entire nation. With that, I'm happy to share that about 4.5 years later, today India stands as the third largest startup ecosystem when it comes to the number of startups. We're also the third largest ecosystem when it comes to the number of unicorns, and in terms of adding startups every hour, every day, we have the fastest growth. What it means for the ecosystem and how the landscape has changed over the years. Let me give you a brief with some analogy. If the number of startups before the launch of the action plan, let's say in 2015, were as much as the size of Leaning Tower of Pisa, today we are as tall as Burj Khalifa with over 40,000 startups. When we look at the funding landscape, if we compare it with one Kohinoor back in 2015, it was somewhere around USD $10 billion. Today, the funding landscape in India is almost equal to the size of 7 Kohinoors. So that's the growth and the trend that we've seen in the ecosystem. What has enabled this growth? What has driven young minds to come forward and be job creators rather than job seekers is the support extended by the government. How India has contributed to the startup journey is basically through primary 4 pillars that I'd like to define as: 1, enabling ease of doing business for startups. We believe to our core that the startup should focus on the job of doing a business, and we wish to reduce the burden of compliances for them. In this endeavor, over the last 4.5 years, we've resolved across 39 regulatory reforms for the startups so that they can do the job of doing their business and the compliance burden could be reduced. We also work towards disruptive sector policies, be it in the field of drones, electric vehicles, e-pharmacy, and the likes. The second pillar that we've worked towards is providing access to capital. Now, the government, under the Startup India initiative, had set up a fund of funds, which is currently being managed by a small industry development bank. The fund has already invested more than 4,000 crore drawdown from this 10,000 crore corpus and has invested to 52 venture capital funds. These funds further have invested in more than 400 startups over the past few years. The beauty of this fund is that it has created a catalyzing effect of more than 8 by bringing in the pool of capital from other LPs to be invested in the startup ecosystem. And that was the intention of the government, that we want to mobilize more and more capital that could go into the startups. When we look at access to capital, there are a few more schemes that are also coming up, but a host of government grants also exist under various departments that support startups right from the ideation stage to the scale-up stage. The third pillar that we work towards is access to market. When we talk to access to market, there are 3 things to look at it: domestic access to market, working with Indian corporates and MSMEs; international market access, which is why we are here for this webinar along with the Croatian counterparts; and the third is government market access. For a lot of startups, government is the end user, especially for the social impact startups. And how do you bridge this gap between innovation and commercialization? With that endeavor, under the Access to Market pillar, we provide a host of opportunities to entrepreneurs and startups to develop new solutions, depending on the challenges or problem statements given to us by corporates or ministries. We try and showcase innovations to different departments so that the same could be procured by them. And we handhold startups by providing them mentorship hours, pilot orders, or cash grants from various corporates and Indian industries. In this endeavor, we've also worked on reforming procurement norms from startups so that government departments can procure more easily and the startups do need not possess the the mandated fields around prior experience and prior turnover. The fourth pillar that we work towards is driving this entire ecosystem together. India, if you look at in numbers, specifically for startups, we have more than 40,000 startups. Over 4 lakh entrepreneurs are registered on the Startup India website. There are more than 400 incubators, more than 4,000 investors. So, how do you bridge this gap together? How do you enable a startup from a small town be able to connect with an investor or a mentor? So, with that objective in mind, we created a digital innovation or an incubation hub through which a startup, a young entrepreneur can connect with anyone around him. And I just don't mean by geographically around him, by any sector preference around him, be it international or domestic. You simply have to select your industry and connect with the mentor who's already registered on the hub and take that conversation forward. You can look at the incubators pipeline, you can look at the accelerators when they're hosting their next batch of startups, or you can connect with investors for further advice and guidance. I believe this portal has helped us bridge the gap a lot. When we started in 2016, the ecosystem was heavily dependent on Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, which are the metropolitan cities here in India. But today, 45% of these startups are also coming from tier 2 and tier 3 cities. The vision of the Honorable Prime Minister was that there should be a startup coming from every district and every nook and corner of the ecosystem. If we look at from an Indian perspective, there are more than 750 districts. We've already covered 75% of this map, and we are reaching closer to the number of hitting startups coming from every sphere of the country. With that, I think I'm very eager to see how this webinar goes and learning for more opportunities from our counterparts, from the delegates and the esteemed panelists who have joined us today. Thank you so much for joining us, and we are looking forward to having a very interesting discussion. Thank you, Binil. Over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Asa, for elucidating the vision of Startup India and the amazing journey that the Startup India team has had and the impact that it has had on the Indian ecosystem. I would now like to welcome His Excellency Mr. Rajkumar Srivastava, who joins us. He's the ambassador of India to Croatia, and I would like to invite Sir to give his remarks on
Thank
that.
you. I hope you can hear me. Right.
Yes, sir,
Right.
you're clear.
So it's a pleasure for me to join this particular session. I think this is an inaugural session of the two startup ecosystem between India and Croatia talking to each other. It's good that I could hear the first presentation, because what I'm going to restrain myself is just tell you how I see what is happening in India. And now sitting in Croatia, I want the Croatia to see India the way we can see from here. Right now in India, there is this what I call tides of development taking place in every sphere of life. And this is very important for India, because India, and for the world also, because you can see that 1/6 of the population of the world lives in India. So whatever happens in India has direct implication for the world. In that context, I think Croatia needs to connect to India more integrally, not only from the traditional and the historical vantage point, but also from the youth and innovation point of view. And that's why I think it is important that these kind of initiatives happen more regularly. And I congratulate Invest India and Startup India to create this initiative today. To my Croatian friends, I would like to say that you are aware that Invest India was recognized as the best agency of investment this year of pandemic in 2020 by UNCTAD. That tells you that a very young organization like Invest India has contributed tremendously towards India's ease of doing business drive, as well as to connect Indian investment scenario to the world. And I think this is a very good beginning today for Croatia to connect to India. Let me just mention about these tides. And this is a summary that I have created so that you can easily remember what you can think about India. So T stands for, in my dictionary, the technology, talent, and trade. And when you look at a startup ecosystem, they are contributing in each of these three T's. Then you look at I, it is industry, infrastructure, and innovation. D, democracy, demand, and demography. E for energy, environment, and economy. And the S, which is most important for me to appreciate what is happening in India, is speed, scale, and sensitivity. I think when you see these presentations of startups, you will be able to connect these tides, especially the speed, scale, and sensitivity. When you are looking at a startup ecosystem in India, you would see that they are having an idea which is scalable, which has a speed content so that they can contribute to the growth of the country. And sensitivity, always be sensitive towards the environment that you are working in, be it people, be it nature. And I think this is the story of India that is unfolding in this decade and the decades to come. That's why it is important that we connect to this new India, the concept of new India. And that will be my mandate here in Croatia as I begin my journey. I am just 2 months old here, but I'm very happy that within very first 3 months, we have this first initiative. I look forward to hear more in this particular presentation, and I hope that we can regularly do these events. I must speak something about our Croatian partners who are participating today. The Zagreb Innovation Center is a pioneer in terms of what they have achieved since 2013. So they are also a 7-year-old organization, and they have done a lot of support to the startup ecosystem in Croatia. FER, which is the Faculty of Electronics and Artificial Intelligence Computing in University of Zagreb, is a wonderful institution in terms of number of students doing cutting edge research there, and they are creating an entrepreneurship division, which is the startup ecosystem in University of Zagreb itself. And we have Rijeka Innovation Hub, which has a very key focus on healthcare. In this time of pandemic, I think this is very important to recognize the importance of healthcare and how youth and innovators can contribute towards that important pillar. Thank you very much. Wish you all the best.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your kind words and for elucidating and explaining to us how different partners need to work together and why the new India is a great opportunity for different countries to come in and specifically for Croatia to come in. Your words are very kind and we are very thankful for that. I would now like to invite Professor Nikola Mišković from the University of Zagreb for Computer Engineering to introduce FER to us.
Thank you very much, Benil, and thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. I have to emphasize once again that it is the ambassador who made these events happen. Just a few weeks ago, we had the pleasure of hosting the ambassador of India at the University of Zagreb, Faculty of Electrical Engineering and Computing. And after this visit, so many wonderful things have started happening. And this is the energy, this is the agility that we appreciate at our faculty very much. Thank you once again for the introduction. My name is Nikola Mišković, and I'm the Vice Dean for Research at the Faculty of Electrical Engineering and Computing of the University of Zagreb. To put things into context, for our Indian friends who might be watching this live broadcast, Croatia is a very small country compared to India. We have a population of around 4.5 million. Fortunately, we are a member of a larger ecosystem, which is the European Union. It's been 7 years now that we are members of this. So we take pride in being a part of this larger market that allows us then to bring our research results to our industrial partners. I would have to mention also that in this small country, University of Zagreb is the largest university. We have around 70,000 students studying in various subjects, from humanities, social sciences, sciences and medical sciences, all the way to electrical engineering and computing, which is my faculty. We are home to around 3,500 students. And our faculty is not only excellent when it comes to the quality of students that come and that leave our faculty, but we are excellent also when it comes to research. And we are one of the most successful institutions in Croatia when it comes to number of competitive research projects. Horizon 2020, which is a European funding program for research projects. The reason why I'm telling you this is to understand that the large number of research projects that are being conducted at our faculty means basically nothing if we do not have structured programs that allow us to commercialize and bring our research results to the market. A few years ago, we started a student incubator program, which is called Spock, like Star Trek Spock, where we started training our students to think as entrepreneurs, and we started giving them the opportunity to form startups from the ideas they came up with during their studies. This year was the first year when we did the same thing for our faculty members, meaning for our researchers and professors, where we are now initiating a sort of a venture builder where research results from projects which are technologically much more advanced can be commercialized and can be brought to the market. This is what our interest is, and this is where we see that collaborating with our Indian partners, we can not only extend the market in which we operate, but we can also learn from our friends, now Indian friends, who have much more experience when it comes to startup communities. Having said that, I wouldn't like to take too much of your time because I know that we are all here to focus on our startups. So I wish us all a pleasant workshop, and once again, thanks to the organizers for making this happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Nicola, for sharing those words with us, for telling us the great work that is being done by the university, and also for talking to us about what the need for this work is. I would now like to invite Dr. Milica Projic from the Zagreb Innovation Center to give a short introduction to ZITSA.
Thank you so much. At the beginning of my presentation, I would like to, on behalf of Mr. Frano Šesnić, Director of Zagreb Innovation Center, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to participate on today's startup webinar. Zagreb Innovation Center is a business support organization founded by the city of Zagreb with the objective to promote the creation of stimulating entrepreneurial environment and strengthening of entrepreneurial competences, clarifies the best way to finance startup endeavors, and help innovative high-tech companies and teams turn their ideas into actual products. Our more than 7,000 square meter large flagship location means that ZITSA breeds as a dynamic ecosystem of innovative entrepreneurs. Its incubation, acceleration, and co-working programs are set up in a way that helps startups not only catalyze their growth, but also ensure a healthy, steady business foundation. ZITSA incubation program provides everything a startup might need to succeed and become competitive on the market. Next slide, please. Support to entrepreneurs includes infrastructure, financial instruments, education, and mentorship, as well as support aimed at the internationalization of businesses. At the moment, our facility is a home for 19 high-tech startups that are currently employing approximately 250 professionals. ZITSA tenants created more than 15 patented innovations and received over 200 international awards to date. Next slide, please. The purpose of our acceleration programs is to make it easier for startups to create high-quality, innovative tech products, expand into new markets, monetize their ideas, increase revenue, and develop their businesses in a sustainable way. For example, Startup Factory is no equity pre-acceleration program that provides intensive education, financial support, expertise of Zitzer staff and mentors, workshops, access to investors, and networking with the Zitzer startup community, including the alumni. Its startups are eligible to enter the incubation program where they can receive comprehensive assistance. Startup Factory piloted in 2016 and takes place annually. To date, 75 startups have successfully completed the program. 27 winning teams received in total 405,000 euros for further development of their projects, and many of them are achieving notable success. In addition to this, Zitzer is a clean tech hub as well. Since 2019, we have been leading the 8th Climate Kick Accelerator, specialized in addressing climate change. Our 2 generations, for example, of clean tech startups have gained investment totaling more than 1 million euros, registered a subsidiary in United States, launched a successfully global Kickstarter campaign, and grow a number of employees by more than a dozen. Next slide, please. Zitzer provides and manages several financial schemes directed to support innovators, self-employment, and development of innovative startups. For example, we provide convertible loan as timely and targeted investment for early-stage startups to develop innovative products. To date, 8 startups received 160,000 euros for their projects. Also, subsidies and financial support for business internationalization are available for Zitzer tenants, and additionally, on a regular basis, we organize events where startups have an opportunity to both meet with and pitch before investors and listen to their feedback, experience, and current market trends. We provide our community with the comprehensive, well-rounded educational program support and mentorship, which allows up-and-coming entrepreneurs to focus on creating their products and getting their business off the ground. So far, thousands of our past participants have had the privilege of experiencing top experts and getting their businesses. Experts share their life lessons and business knowledge on more than 130 topics. And when it comes to supporting its startups, we place as additional emphasis on the expertise of its staff, and Zitzer places an additional emphasis of expertise of its staff, as well as cooperation with partner institutions, national authorities, potential investors, and everyone who can positively contribute to the development of entrepreneurship. We also find fostering our relationship with the academia extremely important in order to facilitate lab-to-market technology transfer. And at the end, we are always looking to extend our network of collaborators and those broaden our ecosystem's reach. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Milija Provic, for explaining to us what the work of Zyker is. It's quite interesting to see how you're providing support to all the stakeholders, and especially the amount of work that is being going behind this. I would now like to invite.
Thank you.
I would now like to invite Mr. Boris Golub for highlighting the work and scope of STEP-RI.
Thank you, Bill. Good morning and good day to everyone. So I'm Boris. I'm actually presenting the Rijeka Startup Hub, but we are one part of it. So city of Rijeka is a bit smaller than our capital Zagreb, where Zitzer is situated, but we are on the Mediterranean coast. So if you come to Croatia, maybe the coastal part is also a good idea. So Rijeka as a city is a port situated on the northern part of the Adriatic Sea, but practically in the center of Europe. And that's something that I would like to present, what is going on in Rijeka hub, and how we can support you with our international related activities and support in internationalization, either going outside of Croatia or for those companies and startups that want to come into Croatia and into European Union. So Rijeka as a city has 3 startup incubators, which is running different programs, also 3 business support organizations. Step 3 is Science Park established by the University of Rijeka, but it's actually a business support organization that support scientific entrepreneurship, but also support entrepreneurs and existing companies and startups in better implement and adopt new technologies. So we are trying to, among all of those business support organizations, we try to deliver more advanced support services like business modeling and servitization or internationalization and scale up of existing products or new startups. Regarding the let's say international related activities, which I think is something that is mostly important and relevant for you. We have a long-standing cooperation with US Embassy, and we have actually every summer we have a startup camps, which brings startups from all over Europe, but also even more from Georgia, Ukraine, Azerbaijan, but also Spain, Poland, Italy. They come in Rijeka for a week working with US mentors and Croatian mentors and developing early stage ideas and trying to elaborate them into more mature stage in order to attract investors and become successful at the end. We also have something called Big Bang Camp, which is again 1 week boot camp oriented to scientists that have technologies that might become or might find place on the market. So they are coming here to Rijeka, developing technology roadmap, and then looking for appropriate way to actually start their entrepreneurial business. What I really want to stress is something that we developed with other both science park or business support organizations in the region. It's our soft landing support program. So soft landing means that we support foreign companies, especially foreign companies from distant countries like India, when they want to establish a market presence, like foothold in some kind of regions. So if you come to Rijeka in Croatia, we have established collaboration with Science Park or Business Support Organization in Italy, in Austria, in Slovenia, in Germany, in Czech Republic, in Slovakia. So it's very easy that you first come to our premises, and then we can support you in looking where to actually establish your operations and start your work, maybe test your products. And it's very interesting that in 200 kilometers range, you can test your products and services in 5 or 6 different languages, actually different cultures, because Europe is really diverse. So, and that might be make or break feature when it comes to actually expanding to Europe market, your ability to adapt to diversity that Europe brings. We are also part of the Enterprise Europe network, which is the biggest network, I think also present in India, which is the biggest network that supports entrepreneurs, startups, and existing companies when they are going to internationalize or scale up their businesses. So that's pretty much what I wanted to explain. So Rijeka is right in the center of Europe. You have 6 international airports within 2-hour drive, 9 airports within 3-hour drives. We are especially interested in the companies that are trying to bring some health and well-being in innovations on the European market, but also relevant to tourism, transport, and we can bring some kind of infrastructure from the university regarding high performance computing or artificial intelligence. So we try to mix the benefits from the very, very elaborate and vivid startup or entrepreneurial scene in Rijeka region, but also the infrastructure that University of Rijeka has already prepared and ready for whoever is interested to establish some kind of cooperation from scientific community, but also from startup and industrial community. So I think that this is pretty much most that I want to share with you. If you want to contact us, just Google Step3 and you will get the contacts, or through the our colleagues from organizers. So Benil, back to you, and please, I know that we are kind of tight in schedule.
Thank you, Mr. Boris, for highlighting the working scope of STEP. I would now like to invite my colleague, Ms. Nikita Gupta, to carry the webinar forward and introduce the startups who will be presenting today.
Thank you, Binal. A key aspect of this webinar is the Indian and Croatian startups that will be presenting their innovations to all the stakeholders today. We have 4 unique Indian startups who will be sharing their products and services with all of you. The first startup that I would like to invite for today's webinar is Niramai. It's a healthcare startup. Binal, can we have Niramai's presentation, please?
Hi everyone, good afternoon. My name is Vicky Nanda. I'm head of new business initiatives at Niramaya, and I'm responsible for business growth and look forward to the having a discussion with you guys. Okay, so talking about Niramaya, Niramaya is basically inspired from Sanskrit word which is Sarve Santu Niramaya. Niramaya here means let all be happy, let all be free from illnesses. Now, when someone thinks about illness, we think about lifestyle diseases, we think about life-threatening diseases like cancer. So at Niramai, we are actually working upon a critical health problem, which is a cancer. Now, the first problem which we are working upon is breast cancer, which is actually a leading cause of cancer deaths in women. Now, this is a global problem. So what happens that 1 out of 17 women actually develop some kind of breast abnormality in their lifetime. So that is the gravity of the situation. In fact, the last year's statistics shows that approximately 600,000 women have actually died out of breast cancer. So what is happening here? So we actually took up the challenge and tried working upon what are the possible reasons why this is happening. And if you look at survival rates in many developed as well as in developing countries, it is just about 50%. Now, what it means is that every alternate woman who is diagnosed with breast cancer dies out of breast cancer. Now, breast cancer is a treatable disease. No one has to die out of breast cancer. So we started working upon to find out what is the real problem. So we worked upon and we found that the real problem lies in late detection. So if we are able to detect the cancer early, we are able to not only save women's life, we are able to also provide them the quality of life, the treatment cost goes down, and so on and so forth. So at Niramai, we started taking up this challenge. Next slide, please. And we started working upon what are the current gaps in screening methods. So we found out that there is no good test, cancer test or screening test available for women which is less than 45 years. Why? Because less than 45 years, women have dense breast tissues. And in fact, women above 45 years, more than 50% of women have dense breast tissues. So there is a technology limitation which exists. And we also thought if we have to screen, all the women on the earth, then we need a solution which is affordable, which is accessible, which is actually radiation-free, which is, painless. So we started, looking at these problems, and we were thinking that if we can solve either one or two of these problems, then we can look for, mass adoption of, our solution. And we started, and we took this as a challenge. Next slide, please. And we developed this novel solution, which is developed by Niramai, which conducts breast cancer screening test. Next slide, please. Which conducts which conducts cancer test and detects cancer in a completely privacy aware manner. So what Neramai solution does is basically detect cancer long before a lump is felt. It is completely non-contact, non-invasive, no radiation. It's affordable. It works for women of all age groups, so it is age agnostic. In fact, it works on men as well. It's affordable, it is portable. The best part about this is you can plug it into the hospital as well as you can provide this at home. So this is what the Neramai solution is. I will just take another half a minute to explain you what is this solution all about. The solution named is Thermalytics. Thermalytics is basically a novel fusion of thermography and the machine learning. Thermography, which is an old modality, existing modality. What happens in a thermography? We basically capture the subject area and where the heat is emanating, and we are able to create the heat map, which is translated into 400,000 data points. And then comes the fusion of machine learning. So machine learning is able to interpret those data points and able to generate a real-time automated and an accurate report. So we are able to tell, whether it's a suspected malignancy situation or not. So Thermalytics is able to look for cancer and not only looking for lumps. So this is where our technology lies. Next slide, please. So as I just mentioned, this product has been adopted by various hospitals and diagnostic centers. You can plug in there, play, and start operating. And plus, it can also be provided at home. Next slide, please. Yes, so we have done various outreach camps in India where we do corporate camps as well as the community outreach programs with the help of Thermalytics. And we have screened many, many women. Next slide, please. This is a small video. I just skip in the interest of time. Next slide. Okay, so everything happens within a span of 15 minutes, right from technicians giving an instructions to the subject as well as getting a report. So it's a very simple patient experience. Again, the patient experience is high. Why? Because there is no one touches the woman, no one sees the woman. So it's completely non-invasive, no contact. So that's the high on experience on the patient side. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is the whole process where the computer-aided diagnostic uses AI ML. We capture the scan and then machine learning process the data and report is generated. Next slide, please. This is how the radiologist certified report looks like, where the radiologist is able to provide thermobiological score, aerolo score, symmetrical score, and these are the scans which are provided, and we are able to provide the lesion location as well. Next slide, please. Now, this is a real-time automated reporting which can be done for community screening, which can also give a red, yellow, green status and also recommend follow-up action needed with specific location. In a recent study, Thermalytics has been evaluated, next slide, has been evaluated by ASCO journal, which is a global oncology journal. So there was a clear study which talks about the evaluation of the clinical efficacy of Thermalytics. So this was a recent study in 2020. Next slide, please. So these are some of the clearances from government bodies in India. Next slide, please. Some of the endorsement that we have from medical institutions. Next slide, please. Testimonials from corporate and end users. Next slide, please. So I just leave it here. Next slide, please. So these are some of the awards and media mentions where we have been rated as top cancer startup in Indian Cancer Congress and other awards as well. Next slide, please. We are also the only Indian startup which is in the top AI 100 startups in the world. So we have made the India map blue. Thank you so much for your time. And I end my presentation. Over to you, Nikita. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vicky, for that presentation. Now we would like to invite the next Indian startup, Cornext Agri Products, to give their presentation.
Hello.
Hi, Madhav.
Can you please turn the presentation on? Thank you. Hello all, good afternoon. My name is Madhav. I'm the Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director of this company called Cornext. What we are going to discuss over the next few minutes is about a solution that has revolutionized the way fodder is being treated in India. Fodder is it is a problem that needs a balance between when there is availability of surplus during the seasons and when there is a great deficit during during the season that we don't have. So Cornext for the first time has pioneered a concept called baled silage in India, by which we are preserving fodder for up to 1 year. And this is very important because more than 30 million population of India are dependent on dairy and dairy related activities. And if there is no good quality fodder coming to their cattle, it means loss to them, to their cattle, and also to the economy. Next slide, please. Okay. The company was founded in 2015. More than 2/3, as we were discussing in the previous slide, more than 2/3 of the entire states in India have some sort of fodder deficiency. And the Indian Council for Agriculture Research has put the fodder as high as 50% shortage, which means for every 2 feed rations that an animal gets, 1 of them is not enough. So this is impacting the Indian economy. And moreover, the average milk yield, when compared with the global average, we are still at least 40% short of what it can be. So this is the problem, and we will discuss the solution in the coming slide. So how we solved it is by using a technique called baled silage. We use crop like maize. There are a wide variety of crops which can be used to preserve the fodder, and this can be preserved for up to 1 year. When we ferment it, the process is called as fermentation. When we ferment the crop, what essentially happens is it breaks down these complex carbohydrate structures that are available in the plant into simple sugars. Thereby, the benefits are there is an increase in milk yield, increase in body weight, and a sustainable supply throughout the year, thereby addressing the fodder crisis in the country. Thank you. Next slide, please. Basically, the journey of Cornex can be split into 2 phases. The first phase, where we have imported the technology from Europe, which was prohibitively expensive, more than $1 million just to set up 1 plant, is way too expensive for Indian standards. And it also has its own disadvantages. These were addressed when eventually why Cornex became what it is today. Is once we understood the technology, we went on to indigenize the entire technology, brought it down to 3%. When I said 90, so from $1 million that it would cost to about $25,000 is what it would cost for us to set up a plant now. And this led us to decentralize the production across the country. So we'll discuss more what we are doing with the technology that we have developed. Thank you. Next slide, please. So what we have done is, once we were able to develop these missions at roughly about 3% of the global global equipment cost. What we have done is we have decentralized our operations. Not only that, because this is way too cheap for setting up, we are nurturing entrepreneurship across the country. Currently, we have about 150 rural entrepreneurs across the country. We are going to integrate using an e-marketplace, which means the fodder entrepreneurs, as we call them, can be in the nook and corners of the country. They will be producing on their own around about 2,500 tons a year, which is good, which is about 2.5 lakh fodder rations. And what we are doing is we have dairy farmers on the other side who is willing to place an order. Cornex will be playing as an enabler role. So we give them the machinery, we give them the skill sets that are required, and we train them and also provide them an e-marketplace which is integrated across the country. The vision is over the next few years, for every 100 kilometers, we will have one, you can move to the next slide, we will have one production point every 100 kilometers, as you can see India map. So every state or roughly every district will have one production point that comes from Cornex, which is good to fit 2.5 lakh cattle rations, thereby addressing the problem as we progress. So the simple procedure is there is an app that the dairy farmer will be downloading and he will be placing the order, and the GPS will automatically track the nearest fodder location, and and it will go as an indent to the fodder entrepreneur. This is what we are creating in India, and this has received attention not only within India but also countries that have similar dairy farming profiles, countries like Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Africa. So our mission and our technology is currently in all these countries at a very basic stage. But in India, yes, it is in an advanced stage. Yeah, thank you. Can you? So this is what we do at Cornex. If in Croatia or anybody from your country wants it, we are more than happy to discuss with them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madhav. Now we would like to invite the next startup, Mailer Tech, which is a cybersecurity startup from India, to give their presentation.
Yeah, can we have the slides, please? Right. So my name is Sohail. I'm the CEO of MailerTech LLP. I was very happy to know I would be speaking to a Croatian audience because I've been a fan of Croatian footballers like Modric, Rakitic for a long time. So this is nice. Our product is called Canary Mail. It's the world's first and only email app offering easy to use, provider independent, end-to-end email encryption. So I'll explain what that means going ahead. Canary is built by myself and my brother Dev. We both studied in the US, and then we came back home to India to work on Canary. Next slide, please. So the problem with email security is that a lot of email accounts tend to get hacked. In the last few years, we've seen 3 billion plus accounts hacked from Yahoo alone. And the reason this is a big deal is because emails are stored in plain text on the server. So whenever an attacker gets access to the account, he can read the entire email archive. So this is in stark contrast to chat apps, even mainstream apps like WhatsApp, where end-to-end encryption is very commonly available. But unlike that, email encryption tends to be complicated to use. And there are some secure providers like ProtonMail, but you have to switch to that account, and their encryption works really well with their own accounts, but doesn't work very well with other providers. So they are restricted. Next slide, please. So our solution is an app called Canary Mail. We have a cross-platform presence. So, we offer easy to use end-to-end email encryption with an excellent user experience. And the app works with all of your email accounts, whether it's Gmail, Yahoo, Exchange. You just add your existing account and you're good to go. And we already have Mac and iOS apps. Our Android app is in beta, and we're working on Windows next. Next slide, please. So we've been growing well and completely organically. We've not really done any serious marketing, but it's very well received on the App Store. In terms of paid email apps, we are amongst the top rated email apps with an average rating of 4.2 plus. And we've reached a top 10 rank for productivity in 50 plus countries around the world on the App Store at this point. Next slide. So again, like our user and revenue growth, our media coverage is also organic. We haven't paid anyone, but we get a lot of good press. Apple themselves have featured Canary Mail worldwide on the App Store. And we also have top tier customers like Interpol, the investigative agency that currently use our app. Next slide. We've also had funding and investment interest. Leading California-based VC gave us a term sheet. ProtonMail reached out. They wanted to buy us out and have us work together on their apps. And the founders of eBay gave us a development grant when we were still pre-revenue. Next slide. So how is Canary different from other products on the market? So the market is sort of split into two segments. On the left are apps that have a very good design and a good feature set, but are not very secure. In the bottom, we have apps that are very secure, but don't have a very good design or are not nice to use. So Canary is different in that it brings the features and design of the first set with the security of the second set. So in this it is completely unique. Next slide. So in terms of market size, ProtonMail has 10 million plus users. They're supposed to have a $300 million valuation. PGP Corporation, another similar company, exited to Symantec for 300 million. And we're targeting 1% of ProtonMail users and plan to charge them $10 per month per user, which is about 12 million in ARR. So going ahead, our strategy is to go to enterprise. We currently have Mac and iOS apps. Android is almost ready. Windows is next. So for this, we're raising some funding, but more importantly, we're looking for a strategic partner to help us with enterprise sales in Europe and the US. get access to businesses over there and help our expansion. So that's what we're hoping to, maybe connect with going ahead. Next slide. So yeah, encryption is very easy to access in chat apps. It's used by almost everyone, and we plan to do the same for email. If you just want to have a chat, just feel free to reach out to me via email, Twitter, whatever. Thank you.
Thank you, Sohail, for that presentation. Up next, we have Pi Green Innovations, which is a startup that has an enterprise solutions. Hi, Prasad. We're just pulling up your presentation.
Sure, thanks, Nikita. Good morning, good evening. My name is Prasad Borge. I represent Pi Green Innovations, a clean tech company that was founded last year. We work with a single mission of reducing particulate matter emissions from source as well as ambient air. Could we run to the next slide, please? Next one. So we work with a patented technology which is filterless. So conventional air filters come with a filter as a part of the technology, which has its own drawbacks of clogging and clotting. So there are maintenance issues around the filters, which we have done away with using our technology. We have got patents granted in US and UK. We have also got patents pending in about 30 odd countries. As far as international accolades goes, we are proud to share that we were the winners at Smogathon, which was conducted in Poland in 2018. We work with the United Nations Development Program to reduce particulate matter emissions as part of their project in India. And recently, we have also won the Climate Solver Award from WWF, courtesy which we are talking now to the central governments to collaborate with them as a technical partner to reduce air pollution in India. Thank you. Next slide. So we understand what the problem was. We've done a bit of our research in about the air pollution in Croatia. So we see that when it comes to the emissions of PM 2.5, which is the ultrafine particulate matter, and PM 10, Croatia exceeds the standard set by the European Economic Area Agency. So there is a certain bit of effort that is required to be taken so that the Croatians breathe in a cleaner air. Major contributors are vehicle emissions, combustion plants, and oil and gas refining. So these are activities that may not be it may not be possible for anyone to just curb them unless it's a lockdown, and obviously we don't want to be there for a long time. So there is a certain need for engaging technically to fight these air pollution menaces in Croatia. Next slide. So as this graph suggests, there are about 99% of the urban population that is subjected to higher levels of PM10. And the worst thing about this particulate matter 2.5 and 10 is that it is so small that it enters our lungs, and it is capable of entering into our bloodstreams and can pose really very high human health hazards. So it is a matter of ultimate urgency, because in a country like India, we see about 500,000 deaths happening each year due to illnesses caused by the air pollution caused by the particulate matter. Next slide. So these are the range of products that we have. The carbon cutter genre of products caters to addressing pollution at source, and the repair genre of products works on reducing the ambient air pollution. And again, as we mentioned, we are working with a patented filterless technology that has been tested in India with the government agencies and have proved the PM emission reduction efficiency of more than 80%. Next slide. Next slide. So this is the ambient air purifier, which can be installed at any place, be it a crossroad in a city or a mall or any semi-open space where there is a large congregation of people, where large crowds come together. And the repair unit can easily reduce the PM content in the air by, it's a simple plug and play device. It also provides for an advertisement space. So if any corporate is interested in promoting the a pure air initiative within their ambit, can use this device and also have their marketing objectives met. So this is a very interesting proposition for all the places where a large number of tourists or the locals gather in large numbers. Next slide. This is another application of the repair where we see that it can be used as a smart bus stop. I mean, repair is completely a device that can be used in as many use cases as possible. Thank you. Next slide. This is the key features of the repair, where we see it is a device that uses no filter, which means it will not get clogged. It does not require any downtime for cleaning. It does not require water. So we believe in not working with a solution that does not clean air and pollute water. So we don't use any water to do away with the particulate matter that is collected. It has completely no maintenance. It is simple plug and play device. Next slide. Next slide. We were recently talking to the embassy of Poland in India, where they approached us with the problem of excessive coal burning. So Poland is the second largest country that produces coal in all of Europe, and we have this retrofit device for Jaggery processing unit in India, which can be easily customized to the problem that Poland has shared with us. That problem was typically around burning of home chimneys. So household units that burn a lot of coal to keep the houses warm is a very big source of pollution there, and we have a solution ready for that. The next slide. So this application is the last one from our product kitty. The diesel powered generators which are used as a backup for electricity failures. We have a retrofit solution that reduces the particulate matter by more than 80% here, and we've tested it with the government agencies. Thank you.
Thank you, Prasad, for that presentation. And a huge thank you to all the Indian startups who presented today. If any of our viewers want to reach out to these startups, you can just send us an email or write to the Embassy of India in Croatia, and we'll be happy to facilitate connects. Moving on, now we would like to invite two speakers from Infobip. Mr. Nikhil Shiruji, who's the Managing Director of Infobip, and Mr. Matijay Razam, who's the Vice President of Business Development. Hi, over to you guys.
Hi, everybody.
Hi everybody. Thank you, Nikita, and thank you, Invest India and the Indian Embassy in Zagreb and the entire Startup India initiative for having us on today's webinar. I'd like to begin with a little bit about our company. Today, Infobip is a global communications platform provider that enables businesses to build connected experiences across all stages of a customer's journey very easily with interactions over multiple channels. We are a global organization with more than 10,000 clients, 2,500 employees, and over 65 offices globally. Our products and services have evolved from a simple SMS broadcasting system to a world-leading cloud communication platform, which is available as a service to all our enterprise customers, including the likes of WhatsApp, Uber, Zendesk, Raiffeisen Bank, just to name a few. This year, we even extended our offering to a contact center as a service. It's come in really handy during this troubling time in 2020. And over the years, we have evolved a very strong partnership with the mobile operator community globally and count more than 300 mobile operators as direct partners. But a little over 10 years ago, the story was slightly different. Infobip had only a small team of about 30 and partnered with my company, BSmart, in India, which had a team of about only 10, to jointly provide an enterprise platform, a messaging platform actually for Vodafone in India, which in those days was Orange and then became Hutch before it was Vodafone. This was a truly first step for both companies, this international partnership. Infobip bringing in the technology stack and the telecom grade platform to offer to mobile operators, and BSmart bringing in the local knowledge, the user interface, the expertise in running this entire sales and marketing for the project. You can say this is a true collaboration between two startups globally. And this was not too long ago, 10 years ago. So yeah. Well, the initial investment from both sides was about 300,000 euros, and the partnership partnership was successful, and we were able to close clients like HSBC, Reuters, LG. But this entire project was reactive, and due to the commoditization of SMS, had become quite flat after about 4 to 5 years of the contract. This is where Matya and me began to work together. Matya, I leave the floor to you. What interested you in increasing this collaboration?
It was not just about increasing the collaboration. I was really interested in India as a huge economy where, any kind of investment should give some kind of return, obviously, because all the big companies, especially from US, are trying to, push their products towards one of the biggest global markets, which is India. So I thought that definitely there is something that can be done. I was interested also to see how India looks like, and I was actually very happy when we meet there in India, when you took me over to the local restaurants to taste the local food. So it was a really interesting experience, and on the business side, it actually went quite well, I must say.
Yeah,
so,
it's actually it's quite interesting, but one of the few people, one of the few Croatians I know who loves our green chilies and are okay with them.
Correct. But as you can see now, so Nikhil is managing director of actually our Europe region. So Nikhil, how do you feel about Europe? How do you feel about Croatia? What do you think about that? You left India.
So yeah, I mean, it was an interesting change, after working with Infobip as a partner and then as a consultant. I realized that the speed at which Infobip moved from a startup to a large company and then to a global presence was really amazing. And this investment that Infobip made in India and in BSmart really bore fruit. And I think we were able to generate a return on investment in less than 2 years in that investment. But working with Croatia, I think Croatia and India have a lot in common. One of our colleagues mentioned earlier that Croatia has only 4.5 million people, and India has, of course, over 1 billion. I think at heart we're very similar. We believe in a lot of similar morals and goals, and it has been a pleasure working with the entire Croatian team for the last 10 years, and I think I can call a lot of them my friends. I do feel also that Croatia actually feels like Europe with emotions. So it's best of both worlds. You have a very, very strong sense of family. And in Infobip, the one thing I noticed and I saw was the sheer focus to move forward, no matter what the obstacles were. I mean, this was shown by Silvio, Roberto, Isabel, the founders of Infobip. And you can just see by the trajectory in which Infobip has grown. Now you mix that with history and hospitality, and I just wanted to work with Infobip and come here and make a change. I would ask you the same thing. How is it? How is the work environment in India? Working with Indians.
Well, it's definitely friends. When I came there, when you actually meet this traffic, and when you need to travel from one part of the city to the other part of the city for like 3-4 hours, which is not unusual. It's actually not easy. But on the other side, people are also very friendly, very warm, I would say, and very, very business oriented. So Indians are definitely business oriented guys, and whenever there is a potential of some business, they are there and they are pushing it. I'm meeting my Indian colleagues, not just in India, but also in many countries outside India. We work in Africa. There is a lot of Indian companies operating there, in Asia also. Maybe in Europe, not so much currently, but since UK, maybe they will come also. So yes, this is a very, I would say, fast-paced economy. And I see a future, and I see India, being comparable with the biggest global economies right now already.
I think also the movement that we saw, especially for our colleagues here who are in the startup phase, it's one thing to have the idea. It's the next thing to start the revenue, but to scale up, that I think is one of the key things that you can see in India. which is something that we've noticed in Infobip. And I still remember when the collaboration actually started, we were doing about 10 million SMS messages per month. And all our projections were based on us reaching a milestone of 100 million. And, that was supposed to be, 10x growth. And that's what we all were working for, looking forward to and investing in. And I still remember, forget 100 million. I still remember us meeting one day in Bombay where we did 330 million in a day. And, we celebrated, of course, 500 million, that month. And then we went on to do, I think at its peak, about 5 billion messages a month. In India, I remember those traffic, and with that scale came a lot of problems, came a lot of challenges. I would say, not problems. And it's basically how our collaboration works together. The technology stack in Croatia, the team in Croatia, the engineers, as well as the support team in India, and the front end sales executives with the clients. So this end-to-end collaboration is what I think has helped Infobip and Be Smart in those days as startups take care of their customers. And I think these are how we can measure success.
Okay, since we are running a bit short on time, I would just like to say thank you for inviting us to this webinar, and hopefully some of the viewers will also contact us later if they're interested to hear a bit more what we have done in the last 10 or more years. And of course, thank you, Nick, for joining us here from London. So we are combining India, UK, and Croatia in one single webinar. Thank you, everybody, and hope to see you soon.
Thanks.
Thank you, Nikhil and Matija. I think Infobip presents the case study for economic cooperation between India and Croatia. And I'm sure that a lot of young startups, both from Croatia and India, will be reaching out to you shortly to hear from you. Now we would like to invite the next startup from Croatia. Binal,
yes,
can we have...
Hello, this is Marco from Makabi Architect. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for this possibility to present my work and the work of my team. I hope that you will all enjoy. So if I'm correct, I could make a share of my, So hello, and allow me to introduce Makabi Architect, Research and Innovation Technology for Agro-Health sector. Next slide. So what is the main problem of today's society? It is a climate change. So the widely used of agri chemicals like pesticides, herbicides, insecticides, and fertilizers in modern agriculture has got a negative impact on the climate, on humans and environment. So those chemicals increase the temperature, increase the greenhouse effect, decrease the rainfall, and also decrease the number of fertile fields. So because of that, we need to unlock the potential of the indoor farming in the smart cities of the future. Next slide. So our solution is a smart capsule technology. It is an agroecological product which was produced by green chemistry process, and it has got a 3-in-1 effect. So at the same time, it is a plant protection, plant nutrition, and also it is a time release mechanism. So next slide, please. So these formulations were investigated in the last 4 years. So we applied this formulation into different types of plant cultures, into the soil, hydroponics, foliarly, and also into green fields. So we have got a prototype ready. So we need to upscale the production. We need to make a connection with other industries and partners, and we are looking forward to make a better connectivity and better marketing, and also we are focused on the business growth. So next slide. So we started in 2019 after we won one very big competition in Zagreb. Also, we have been a part of 8 Climate Kick Accelerator, and also we have got one EU project under the horizon. So we have got several clients and companies which used our formulation, and our main vision is to make a connection between the public sector and also these industry partners, because only together we could work on new formulations which could be put on the market. Next slide. So, as I said, this is an agroecological product. So we are mainly focused on the local agroecological producers in Croatia. So we are thinking locally, but we are growing globally. So we would like to conquest the market of the European Union and the rest of the world. Next slide. So currently we are working on the patent application. So we are raising funds to make the patent protection and application of for the future. Next slide. So there is a lot of competitors, but of course these companies are very big and international, and they're mainly focused on the mass market product. But our product is unique, and it has got a unique properties. So we are hoping that we will turn our competitors into our clients. Next slide. So what is the financial flow? So the financial flow, we will mainly go through the connection with the partners, with the industry, but also through the different national and international projects, but also through direct selling of these formulations to our clients. Next slide. So what we need to do next, we need to make this patent application. We need to start and finish some national and international projects, to finish some acceleration programs, and also to start with upscaling of the production. Next slide. So all of that will be absolutely impossible without my team. So there are several very important team members which has got 17 years of experience in different scientific fields like physical chemistry, organic chemistry, analytical chemistry, biotechnology. Next slide. Microbiology, food processing, global agroecology, and also in management. Next slide. So what we need a collaboration. We need a financial aid to start with this patent application process. We need this aid to start the upscaling of the microcapsule formulation, but also to make a new path in the scientific investigation of formulations which could be put on the market. Next slide. And at the end, I think that it is a time of action, because with our action today, we shall change our future. We shall change our world in the next 20, 30, 40, or 50 years. But we need to work together. We need to work both scientists, industry, private sector, policymakers, governments, and also all politicians, because only together we could make a change. And I think that only if we are working together, we could make our world to be better, greener, and healthier. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Marco, for that lovely presentation. We now have the next startup, Crop Shepherd, joining us for their presentation.
Hello, Nikita.
Hi, Leon. How are you? We're just pulling up your slides. Give us a minute.
Great. Looking forward to presenting for you. Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Leon, and I am the co-founder of Crop Shepherd, where we are working hard to bring the organic produce at lower prices and greater availability. So, how do we do that? Next slide, please. Well, certainly not using harmful and soil-polluting herbicides. Next, please. Nor by using tons of single-use and hard-to-recycle plastic sheets. Next, please. And most definitely not using back-breaking and painstaking manual weeding work. But we will, however, supply these organic farmers with this. We have built a prototype of a lightweight, autonomous, GPS and solar-powered robot that will work in the field 24/7, killing weeds one by one, making sure your organic vegetables grow without competition. And it will do so using, next slide please, using artificial intelligence, computer vision, and a very powerful laser beam. Unfortunately, the GIF in the presentation does not work. I wish I could show you how effective the laser beam is, but can we carry on to the next slide? To show you that there is tangible demand for organic produce, we have found stats from 3 European countries, which have doubled or tripled their organic production to suit the demand. Next slide, please. We will sell our machines for 3,000 euros per unit, but do keep in mind that depending on conditions, you may need more than one machine per hectare. A weeding service will also be available for 500 euros per hectare. We do have competition, but our competitors focus mostly on large-scale farmers, whereas we focus on small and medium-scale farmers. Why? In Europe, there are just under 1 million vegetable farmers, and the average land area that they farm on is just 1.7 hectares. Next slide, please. This is our team, 2 engineering students, and we have been working since July last year, and we have accomplished, on the next slide you will see exactly what. My skill sets, one slide back, please. My skill sets include designing the frame and mechanical parts of the robot, and Milivoje's job is to work on artificial intelligence, electronics, and firmware of the robot. Next, please. So far, we have built 2 prototypes, but I'm very sorry I cannot show you the second prototype because of patenting laws. We intend to patent our invention later when we acquire the funds and the resources necessary. We have registered our company here in Croatia, and we've talked to more than 89 farmers to get their feedback on the usefulness of our solution. We have also participated in many competitions, accelerators, and incubators. Next slide, please. Right now, we are seeking a 100,000 euro investment. This will help us conduct patent and state-of-the-art research, expand our manufacturing capabilities, source components, which we will use to produce a test batch of robots, which we'll use to conduct field trials all across Croatia with farmers who have expressed very high interest in our solution. After that, we plan to enter the Croatian and then subsequently the European market. Next slide, please. You can get in touch with us on our website at cropshepherd.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Leon, for your presentation. I'm sure many people will be writing to you soon. Now we have our next and the last startup for today's webinar, ROM Technologies. Damium, you're on mute. Could you please unmute yourself?
Sorry, I apologize. Hi, Nikita.
Hi, we're just pulling up your presentation.
Great, thanks for having me. So while the presentation is loading, I would like to thank you, the Indian Embassy, and also Invest India for this opportunity to present our company. Our company, ROM Technologies, we can move to the next slide, please. Is focused on developing robots which will take over the dull and repetitive and dangerous jobs so that humans can focus on creative and interesting work. Next slide, please. The industry we're focusing on right now is logistics, because logistics forms in a way, the backbone of the modern economy. Its importance has been also emphasized in these times of global crisis. And however, this industry is facing severe challenges, and one of the major challenges is labor shortage. So studies show that in the next years, for every 6 new job openings in the logistics industries, there will be only one qualified candidate applying for this job. So next slide, please. And if it's possible to play the video on the slide, please. Automation is the natural solution to this problem, and indeed, for over 30 years, people have been developing automated guided vehicle technology to automate logistics processes. However, the current solutions have several significant drawbacks. First of all, they typically use fixed infrastructure to navigate, like magnetic tapes or guide rails or reflectors to aid navigation. Then they require high accuracy, but they're typically accurate only on straight segments and not when making turns, which makes them require more space and be less efficient. And finally, the traditional software architecture is monolithic, which makes it very difficult to take advantages of the rapid advances in new technologies such as sensing technologies. As a result, less than 1% of warehouses today use automation. Next slide, please. As a solution to this problem, we have developed primarily software modules, but also hardware add-ons that transform manually operated forklifts into automated vehicles, and while relying only on onboard sensors for navigation. This means they don't require any additional infrastructure, which lowers setup times from weeks to days. We also, thanks to our algorithms, can provide accuracy also on curved segments, which means that the vehicle uses less space to navigate. And our software structure is modular, which means that we can customize our solution to each particular client's needs. Next slide, please. So far, we have 2 pending patents, and we're also developing a solution which is based on deep learning, which will provide semantic understanding to our vehicles, which will further increase their usability and flexibility in integrating them into our clients' processes. Next slide, please. We are making money by licensing software, the whole autonomy stack or specific components to our clients who are system integrators. So our clients are companies who provide the end solutions to the end user, to people who actually run the warehouses. Next slide, please. So far, we have 2 international customers. We have System Logistics, who is a global player, one of the top 20 logistics companies in the world, and RV Automation from Hong Kong, which is a fast-growing startup. We have kind of started the other way around. So we have started outside by exporting our solutions, and now we are turning towards Croatia to find local partners to facilitate our development, so that we can have local use cases which we can tune our technology on. We recently had a demo for over a dozen interested companies, and we expect to have our first Croatian installation in the first half of next year. Next slide, please. Our technology is based on over 40 years of academic research, and in fact, we were through various European projects in the last 10 years. We were able to collaborate with industrial partners and see firsthand the problems they're having, and really then develop. And this was really directing our research towards solving actual industrial problems. And in fact, our first client, we got our first client who read one of our research papers and contacted us, asking us if we can implement this technology in their system. So basically, this is how it was a case of market pull, where our clients asked us to bring our technology from the lab into the real world. And next slide, please. So far, we have grown our team to 6 full-time engineers, and we're incubated at the ZICE at the Zagreb Innovation Center. Next slide, please. And so we're looking for partners for development and also potential clients. Here's our contact. If anybody's interested, also you can get the contact through Nikita. Thank you.
Thank you for that lovely presentation. I want to take this opportunity to thank all the startups from Croatia who joined us and presented their innovation. It has been a great opportunity to listen to the fascinating work that is done by startups in the Indian and the Croatian startup ecosystem. I hope all our audience members were introduced to some of the amazing work done by these startups, and we're hoping that you will write to us if you're interested in connecting with them.
Yeah, Startup India wants to continue leveraging opportunities like these to bring our international partners closer and provide for opportunities for startups from our partner countries to access markets internationally. We'd like to thank His Excellency for joining us, all our speakers, our audience members, and the startups for attending today's webinar. Thank you so much.